Well, this morning I'm working on my 37 Ford. It's a Minotti body fiberglass kit, TCI frame, bunch of other nice stuff. 502 Chevy, Turbo 400, 9-inch Ford. It was built in the late 90s by my dad, and I've had it for about 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 years. And ever since I've had it, it's been very difficult to get it to idle. So let me see if I can show you what I mean. No matter what I do, how I tune it, how I jet it, whatever, or idle jet it anyway, idle tune it, sorry, not main jets, it lopes like this at an idle. Whether it's cold or hot or whatever, this is how it idles. Which is kind of annoying because at stoplights this thing will quit. So you got to 2-foot it, and the pedals are a little close together. So that's enough of that. It's actually running pretty good this morning, as I took it out on a good drive a few weeks ago. But so that's what I got. Now, it's got a bit of a unique carburetor on it. Let's set you out of the way. This is, I believe, a Holley 4010, and I like them because you don't spill any gas when you rejet them. You just pull the top off and you can rejet them that way. I want to say this may be an Autolite, a copy of an old Autolite carburetor. Holley doesn't make them anymore. They stopped, this is probably one of the last ones. From what I can tell, they stopped very shortly after my dad bought this one. But, weirdly, Summit Racing has actually brought them back as one of their own series of carburetors. They're a little bit different, not quite but the same, but very, very similar. But I'm going to try to rebuild this thing today. I got a rebuild kit for the Holley, which you can still find, because for whatever reason the Summit Racing rebuild kit was much, much more expensive. So we're going to pop this thing off, which shouldn't be too hard. Got a little bracket there. It's a manual choke, so I'll undo this and disconnect the fuel filter, and that should be it. So then we'll pop the carburetor off and take it inside and see what we can find. I decided to take a look at what kind of vacuum I've got. Obviously it's not idling terribly well. But I would say I've got about 20, 22 inches of vacuum when it's probably idling correctly. And that's important for sizing the power valve. I think you're supposed to be at about halfway point, so maybe 10.5 is the power valve I should have on this thing. Oops, wrong one. Get that connected back up. There. All right, so now we're going to start to pull the carburetor. And there it is. No real issues getting it off. I guess to get it apart, first thing I'm going to do is pull the fuel feed off, and that should allow me to get the top off, and then we'll go from there. Alright, that's off. No major drama there. Take a look at our screens. Don't look too bad. Oh, not too cruddy. So we've got multiple fuel filters on this thing, so seems to be working pretty well. The next thing I'm going to do, since I can, is see if I can pull the top off of it. First thing I have to do there is pull this choke. You got to disconnect this lever to get the top off. So that's what we're going to do next. Looks to be just 3 Phillips head bolts, and that will come right out. Alright, so that did work. Now that's free. But hopefully the video I took of it earlier is enough for me to actually get it back together, because there's a whole bunch of little mechanism and stuff in there. So we will move on to pulling the top. Okay, now you saw that I didn't use an electric tool to take these screws out. I just used a regular old screwdriver. And the reason for that is I run one of these, a 600, this is a 750, on my race car back in the 90s. And what finally ended up killing it is all the threads in this came undone. And they all just became junk. Come on. And there we go. 2 float bowls. 2 floats. We'll have to check the needles and seats. See what we have. Honestly, if I hold that kind of level, looking at it, floats could be served to be raised a little bit, but I'll do that on the car. But I don't see too much crud. I do see dual power valves, which is interesting. Very cool. And there's your jets, primaries, secondaries. So if you're ever at the track and you need to change it, especially on my other one because I didn't have a choke, pop the top, jet change, put the top back on, done, no fuel spilled. So, pretty cool. Alright, now, peel some of this off, see if we can get it off in one piece, because this is the fun gasket. Where to get it? There she goes. More standard Holley. But alright, so now we are going to dump out the fuel and start seeing what we can do. Alright, no more fuel. While I had it out there, I tested the accelerator pump to see how it functioned, and it works off a little cam, this pink cam in there. And you can change that to change when it acts. Like on my race car, I had it set up so if once the throttle had moved to where I was holding the car at about 3,000 RPM, it hadn't really put anything into the accelerator pump yet. And then as soon as you floor it from 3,000 on, then the accelerator pump went wide open. This one's a very good street accelerator pump, so it starts squirting right at the crack of the throttle and goes all the way to the end. So, which is exactly what you want for a street application. So I shouldn't have to change that. Now the jets are not bad. I don't believe it's running terribly rich or lean, but I'm going to look at them, see what they are. Probably 76s. Okay. 76, good guess. It's probably what came with it from the factory. We're going to set those. Okay. There. See if she's set square or if the rears are different. Oop, 78's in the rear. That means I most likely have been in this thing at one point, and I don't recall. Nothing else to change jets. Yep, 78. Alright, well, it's 1,000,000 degrees outside, and I'm not overly motivated today, so I haven't been filming much, but got the power valve swapped out. I think I had changed these at some point. They're heavier than stock, so I've gone back to stock. Changed the diaphragm and the little button in the accelerator pump. It looked fine, no issues. But what I'm looking at here is, you see all this porting under here? This is important because like this here, this is your PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. So it goes through a hole, I don't know if you can see that hole at the bottom in there, and that's what, you know, keeps your PCV. Kind of, you got manifold vacuum sucking on that. But this is, I think, where my distributor was connected, which is also full manifold vacuum. I think that the distributor is supposed to go connected to here. You can see how we have a little port, or maybe here. I gotta figure this out. I'm just gonna have to check it. See what the distributor's doing. Check the timing when I get done with this, but I don't know. It's hot out. We're gonna carry on. All right, so I know I didn't film a lot of that, but if you have questions about what else I did, please throw them in the comments. I believe I fixed it. But while fixing it, I broke something else, which I'll have to fix. I'll let the fan run because it's about 100 degrees out here today, and she's a little warm. But that thing has that mechanical choke on it, and it's held in place. The choke cable's held in place by something that's on this bracket, which of course is plastic, and which of course I broke when I was tightening it back up. So I wonder if it might be possible to take this secondary and put it on that carburetor. I bet it is. But that one doesn't have anywhere to mount the choke at all. So I'm gonna have to come up with something. But in the meantime, I've just tie wrapped the choke open and it's working fine. I really think the main problem that I had with that idle surge was these gaskets, which were underneath the carb and on top of the intake manifold. They're just stacked. They're very, very slick, and I don't think it was getting a good seal. I think it had developed a vacuum leak underneath the carb, which is why the idle circuits were never working properly. You could never adjust it, and now the idle circuits act really nicely. Tweak it just a little bit one way or the other, and you can see it accelerate or decelerate the engine. So I think that fixed it. Plus, even the secondary vacuum source that I had guessed wasn't the correct one for the distributor. It was actually the third one that was plugged in, so I got that hooked in. Oh, checked it all, and we've got about 8 degrees before at idle and 30 to 32 all in at, I don't know, just under 3,000 RPM, I guess. Maybe a little less than that. So she's running pretty good. Good test drive. It actually idles. I mean, it's smooth as silk right now, which is the best it's run in a long, long time. So I'm pretty happy with that. One thing I will say is I had noticed that the power valves that are in it now have a lower number. And I'm not 100% sure what that means. I think it's got something to do with the vacuum in the engine, and as soon as the vacuum changes or something like that, they squirt a little extra fuel. But if you've got a very high vacuum, you need a very high number, which I had already changed that, and I had 10.5s in it, and I think these are 8.5 or 6.5s. So I don't believe they're opening soon enough. They're opening later than they need to be. So right now I've got a very, very slight off-idle stumble, even though the accelerator pump is working perfectly. So next time when I pull this thing off, if I fix that choke case issue, or choke cable issue, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to put my old power valves back in it, because they're fine, and I think that helped it on the off-idle. But that's what we got. Not a bad day. I haven't rebuilt the carburetor in a while, but it was easy enough with these Holleys. There's not many moving parts, which is kind of nice. Didn't find any significant issues, so I really think I had a pretty sizable vacuum leak underneath the carburetor above the intake, which is what was causing my surge. So there you go. Hope you all have a good day.